Hey there, story lovers. Before we dive into this wild tale, I need you to do something fun. Drop a comment and tell me, where are you watching from today? Maybe you're in a big city, a small town, or somewhere super cool. Oh, and if you love epic stories that keep you glued to your seat, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a single one. Now, here's a question to get you thinking. Have you ever met someone who acted like they were the boss of everything, but they had no idea who they were actually talking to? Hold on tight, because this story is going to blow your mind. It all kicked off on a super hot, smoky morning in a place called Pineview Heights. This wasn't just any neighborhood, it was a fancy one, sitting high up on a hillside where the houses had big yards and shiny mailboxes. The streets were neat, the flowers were bright, and everything looked perfect, at least on the outside. Everyone who lived there thought it was just another normal day. Kids rode their bikes, dogs barked, and neighbors waved at each other. But something big was brewing, and nobody saw it coming. In this neighborhood lived a woman named Mia Carter. Mia was new to Pineview Heights. She'd only moved in a few months ago. She was super quiet, the kind of person who didn't make a fuss. Every morning she'd be out in her yard, mowing the grass or watering her flowers. She'd smile and wave at people passing by, but she didn't chat much. Most folks didn't think twice about her. To them, Mia was just a regular neighbor, someone who kept her house tidy and stayed out of trouble. But here's the thing: nobody, and I mean nobody, knew the real Mia. She was hiding something huge, something so big it would flip this quiet little community upside down. Mia's house was small but neat, with a bright red door and a little garden out front. She'd sit on her porch sometimes, sipping lemonade and watching the world go by. Neighbors would nod and say, "Morning, Mia," and she'd nod back with a friendly grin. But behind that grin, Mia was keeping a secret. It wasn't the kind of secret like sneaking extra cookies. It was a gigantic secret, one that made her way more important than anyone could guess. Nobody in Pineview Heights had a clue, and that's exactly how Mia wanted it for now. See, Pineview Heights wasn't just a pretty place, it had its own set of rules. The neighborhood had something called an HOA, which stands for Homeowners Association. The HOA decided things like what color you could paint your house or how tall your grass could grow. It was supposed to keep everything nice and orderly, but sometimes it caused more trouble than it was worth. And the person in charge of the HOA, that was Karen Wilson. Oh boy, Karen was something else. Karen thought she was the queen of Pineview Heights. She'd walk around with a clipboard, checking everyone's yards like a teacher grading homework. If your mailbox was a little crooked or your flowers weren't perfect, Karen would know. She'd march right up to your door and say, "Fix this or you'll get a fine." Most people just sighed and did what she said, because arguing with Karen was like arguing with a brick wall. She didn't listen. Karen had short hair, always tied back tight, and she wore bright pink sneakers that squeaked when she walked. Her voice was loud, and she loved telling everyone what to do. No bikes on the sidewalk, she'd yell at kids. No loud music, she'd snap at teenagers. Everyone knew Karen's rules, and most folks followed them to keep the peace. But Mia, she was different. When Karen came around, Mia didn't get mad or argue. She'd just nod and say, "Okay, Karen," with a little smile. That smile drove Karen nuts. She couldn't figure Mia out. One day, Karen stopped by Mia's house, her clipboard ready. Mia, your grass is too long, she said, pointing at the lawn like it was a crime scene. Mia's grass looked fine, neat and green, but Karen loved finding something to complain about. Mia leaned on her rake and looked at Karen. I'll mow it tomorrow, she said calmly. Karen huffed, scribbling something on her clipboard. You'd better, she said, then stomped off to bother someone else. What Karen didn't know was that Mia wasn't worried about grass or rules or anything Karen said. Mia had bigger things on her mind, way bigger. She wasn't just a quiet woman with a nice house. She was someone special, someone with a job so important it could change everything. But nobody in Pineview Heights knew that yet. Not Karen, not the neighbors, not even the kids riding their bikes down the street. As the days went by, the air in Pineview Heights started to feel different. It wasn't just the heat, it was something else. Far away, a mountain called Mount Ember was acting strange. It was a volcano and it had been quiet for years, but now it was rumbling. Scientists on TV said it might erupt soon, and that made people nervous. Smoke was starting to drift into the sky, and the news kept showing pictures of the mountain looking grumpy and ready to burst. In Pineview Heights, folks started talking about the volcano. Should we pack some bags? One neighbor asked. Will it reach us? Another wondered. Everyone was a little scared, but they tried to act normal. Kids still played outside and grown-ups still mowed their lawns. But Mia, she was paying close attention. She'd watch the news, her eyes sharp. She'd make phone calls late at night, speaking in a low voice so nobody could hear. Neighbors thought she was just worried like everyone else, but Mia wasn't scared. She was planning. Mia's secret was like a puzzle, and nobody had the pieces to figure it out. She didn't brag or show off, she didn't need to. She was happy being the quiet woman who waved at everyone. But deep down, she knew her secret wouldn't stay hidden forever. Something was coming, something big, and when it did, Pineview Heights would never be the same. Karen, of course, didn't notice any of this. She was too busy bossing people around. One morning, she put up a big sign in the neighborhood, "No extra cars on the street." It said in bold letters. People were starting to park extra cars because of the volcano. They wanted to be ready to leave fast, but Karen didn't care. This is a tidy community, she told everyone. No mess, no chaos. Neighbors rolled their eyes but moved their cars anyway. Mia saw the sign and shook her head just a tiny bit. She didn't say anything, but her mind was racing. The volcano was getting louder, the smoke was getting thicker, and time was running out. Mia knew something nobody else did. She knew exactly what was going to happen, and she was ready for it. Every night, Mia would sit on her porch looking at the stars through the hazy sky. She'd think about her secret and wonder when the right moment would come. She wasn't nervous, she was steady like a rock. She'd faced big challenges before and she wasn't afraid of this one. But she also knew Pineview Heights wasn't ready for the truth about her. Not yet. The neighbors kept living their lives, not knowing what was around the corner. They'd see Mia and wave, thinking she was just like them. "Nice day, Mia," they'd call out. "Sure is," she'd answer, her voice friendly but her eyes sharp. She was watching everything: Karen's clipboard, the smoky sky, the way people moved a little faster than usual. Mia was waiting and she was ready. So what was Mia's secret? Why was she so calm when everyone else was starting to worry? And what was going to happen when the volcano finally woke up? I'm not going to tell you just yet, that's the fun of a good story. But trust me, it's worth sticking around for. Mia's secret was bigger than Pineview Heights, bigger than Karen's rule, bigger than anything anyone could imagine. And when it came out, it was going to shake things up like never before. Thanks for joining me so far. What do you think Mia's hiding? Drop a guess in the comments, I'd love to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe for the rest of this wild ride. Let's keep going, because this story's just getting started. Pineview Heights looked like a perfect place to live. Big houses, green lawns, and shiny cars lined the streets. But there was one big problem in this fancy neighborhood: Karen Wilson. Karen was the president of the Homeowners Association, or HOA for short. That meant she made the rules for everyone, and boy, did she love making rules. Karen acted like she was the queen of Pineview Heights, and nobody dared to argue with her. Karen was tall and skinny, with glasses that slid down her nose. She always carried a clipboard like it was her best friend. Every day she'd march around the neighborhood, checking every house for anything she didn't like. Was your fence too tall? Karen would know. Was your mailbox a funny color? Karen would write it down. No noise after 8 p.m. She'd yell if kids were playing too loud. This is a nice community and we keep it that way. Most people just nodded and did what she said. Nobody wanted to make Karen mad. She could give you a fine, which meant you had to pay money. But one person didn't seem bothered by Karen at all: Mia Carter. Mia was the quiet new neighbor who'd moved in a few months ago. She had a small house with a red door and a neat little garden. Mia never argued or got upset even when Karen came knocking. One sunny afternoon, Karen stomped up to Mia's yard, her clipboard ready. She stared at Mia's lawn like it had done something wrong. "Mia," she huffed, pointing at the grass, "your lawn is half an inch too long. Fix it right now or I'll fine you." Mia was raking leaves, wearing a blue cap and old sneakers. She stopped, leaned on her rake, and looked at Karen. Her lawn was super tidy, green and short, not a weed in sight, but Karen loved finding problems. Mia didn't roll her eyes or snap back. Instead, she gave a small smile and said, "Sure thing, Karen, I'll take care of it." Her voice was calm, like she was talking about the weather. Karen blinked, expecting a fight, but Mia just went back to raking. That smile drove Karen crazy. She couldn't stand that Mia didn't seem scared of her. Behind that smile, though, Mia's eyes were sharp. She wasn't mad or worried. She was watching Karen, noticing every little thing. Mia wasn't the kind of person to get rattled. She'd dealt with bossy people before, and Karen's loud voice didn't faze her one bit. Mia knew something Karen didn't. She wasn't just a regular neighbor. She had a secret, a big one, and it made her way stronger than anyone in Pineview Heights could ever guess. Karen didn't stop picking on Mia. A few days later, she was back, this time mad about Mia's mailbox. "It's too shiny," Karen said, scribbling on her clipboard. "It doesn't match the others. Change it or you'll hear from me." Mia was watering her flowers, a hose in her hand. She turned and looked at Karen, her face still calm. "Okay, Karen," she said softly, "I'll look into it." Karen huffed again, her pink sneakers squeaking as she walked away. She thought she'd won, but Mia wasn't playing her game. Mia was thinking about something much bigger than mailboxes. The truth was, Pineview Heights wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. Something scary was happening nearby. A volcano called Mount Ember was starting to act up. It was far away, but close enough to make people nervous. Every night, the news talked about it. Mount Ember is rumbling, the reporters said. There's smoke in the sky. Nobody knew if it would erupt, but it made the air feel heavy, like a storm was coming. Karen didn't seem to care about the volcano. She was too busy running the neighborhood. One day she put up a big sign that said, "No pets running loose." A kid's dog had gotten out, and Karen was furious. "This is a tidy place," she told everyone at a meeting. "No messes, no noise, no trouble." People nodded, but they were starting to whisper about Karen. "She's too bossy," one neighbor said. "Does she ever stop?" another asked. Still, nobody stood up to her except Mia in her quiet way. Mia kept doing her thing, mowing her lawn, watering her plants. But she was paying attention to more than just Karen. She'd listen to the news about the volcano, her face serious. She'd make phone calls when nobody was looking, talking in a low voice. Neighbors thought she was just a shy woman who liked her garden, but Mia was watching everything. She saw how Karen bossed everyone around, how people were getting nervous about the volcano, how the whole neighborhood was starting to feel tense. One evening, Karen saw Mia carrying a big box into her garage. It was heavy and Mia was careful with it. Karen, being nosy, marched over. "What's in that box?" she demanded, her glasses glinting in the sunset. "You can't bring stuff like that without HOA approval." Mia set the box down and wiped her hands on her jeans. "It's just some old tools," she said, her voice steady. Karen squinted, not believing her. "Tools, huh? I'll be watching you, Mia," she said, then turned and left. Mia watched her go, her eyes narrow. That box wasn't full of tools, but Karen would never guess what was really inside. Mia wasn't scared of Karen's threats. She dealt with bigger problems than a bossy neighbor. Karen thought she was in charge, but she was about to make a huge mistake. Her rules and her clipboard weren't going to help when things got serious. Mia's secret was like a hidden spark waiting for the right moment to shine. And when that moment came, Karen and everyone else would see Mia in a whole new way. The tension in Pineview Heights was growing. The volcano kept rumbling and people started keeping extra food and water just in case. Karen kept making rules, telling everyone to stay calm and follow her orders. But Mia, she stayed cool as a cucumber. She knew something nobody else did and it made her different. Karen's bossy attitude was like a tiny pebble compared to what Mia was ready for. And that secret, it was bigger than Pineview Heights, bigger than Karen, bigger than anyone could imagine. Time passed in Pineview Heights and things started to feel heavy. Days turned into weeks and the whole neighborhood was nervous. A big volcano nearby, called Mount Ember, was acting funny. It wasn't quiet anymore, it was rumbling like a giant waking up. Every night, the news showed pictures of smoke puffing out of the mountain. Scientists came on TV and said, "Be careful, Mount Ember might erupt soon." That made everyone jumpy. People whispered to each other, wondering if they should pack their bags or stay put. Most folks in Pineview Heights were on edge, but not Karen Wilson, the HOA president. Karen acted like she was in charge of everything, even the volcano. She'd march around with her clipboard, yelling at anyone who broke her rules. One day, families started parking extra cars on the street. They wanted to be ready to drive away fast if the volcano got worse, but Karen didn't like that. "No extra cars," she shouted, waving her arms like a teacher scolding a class. "This is a neat community and we keep it orderly." People sighed and moved their cars, even though they were scared. Karen didn't seem to care about the volcano. she just wanted her rules followed. Mia Carter, the quiet neighbor, was different. She didn't argue with Karen or complain about the volcano. She stayed calm, like nothing could shake her. But Mia wasn't just sitting around. She was super busy, doing things nobody noticed. Every night when the stars were out and the neighborhood was quiet, Mia would slip outside. She'd stand by her truck, making phone calls in a soft voice so nobody could hear. Sometimes she'd pull out maps and study them under a flashlight. The neighbors who saw her thought, "Oh, Mia's probably nervous. Maybe she's packing to leave." But Mia wasn't nervous and she wasn't packing. She was working on something big, something nobody in Pineview Heights could guess. Mia still smiled at Karen's bossy rants. One morning, Karen stomped over to Mia's house, mad about a tiny flower pot on Mia's porch. "That pot's not allowed," Karen said, pointing at it like it was a monster. "It's too bright, take it down." Mia was sweeping her steps, her hair tied back in a ponytail. She looked at the pot, small, with yellow flowers, and then at Karen. "Okay, Karen," she said with a nod. "I'll move it." Karen smirked, thinking she'd won again, but Mia's mind wasn't on flower pots. She was thinking about her plan, a plan way bigger than Karen's silly rules. As the volcano kept rumbling, Pineview Heights got more tense. Kids stopped riding bikes as much and grown-ups kept checking the news. One evening, something happened that made everyone stop and stare. Karen was walking by Mia's house when she saw Mia unloading a big wooden crate from her truck. The crate was heavy and Mia carried it carefully like it was important. Karen, being nosy, hurried over. "What's that?" she demanded, her eyes squinting at the box. "You can't bring stuff like that here. No unapproved items allowed." Mia set the crate down and wiped her hands on her jeans. She looked at Karen, her face calm as always. "It's just some old camping gear," she said softly. Her voice was steady, like she was talking about something boring. Karen crossed her arms, her clipboard tucked under one elbow. "Camping gear," she said, not believing Mia. "I don't think so. I'm watching you, Mia." Karen turned and walked away, her sneakers squeaking loudly. She thought she'd caught Mia doing something wrong, but she was so wrong. That crate wasn't full of camping gear. It was something else, something tied to Mia's real life. It was a clue, a tiny piece of the secret Mia was hiding. Karen had no idea, but she was about to run right into that secret, and it was going to surprise her big time. Mia watched Karen leave, her eyes sharp. She didn't say anything, but she knew Karen's bossy days were numbered. The next day, the volcano got louder. A low rumble shook the ground, like a giant snoring. People in Pineview Heights started packing bags just in case. Some loaded suitcases into their car, others bought extra water and food. Karen, though, kept acting like everything was fine. She put up a new sign, "No litter in YARDS." She even told a family they couldn't stack boxes on their porch. "It looks messy," she said. Neighbors rolled their eyes, but they were too worried about the volcano to argue. Mia kept working in her quiet way. One night, a neighbor named Tim saw her in her garage. Mia was looking at a big radio, the kind with buttons and dials. Tim thought it was weird. Mia didn't seem like someone who'd use fancy gadgets. "Hey Mia," Tim called out. "What's that for?" Mia looked up and smiled. "Oh, just an old radio," she said. "I like fixing things." Tim nodded and walked away, but he wondered why Mia needed a radio like that. It wasn't for music, it was another clue to what Mia was really up to. Every day, Mia watched the neighborhood closely. She saw how Karen bossed everyone around, how people were getting scared, how the volcano's smoke was thicker in the sky. She'd nod at neighbors, help carry groceries, or wave at kids. Everyone thought she was just being nice, but Mia was keeping track of everything. She knew the volcano was getting dangerous and she was ready for it. Her phone calls got longer, her maps got more marks, and her eyes stayed sharp. Karen kept picking on Mia, but Mia never got mad. One afternoon, Karen complained about Mia's truck. "It's parked too close to the curb," she said, writing on her clipboard. Mia was fixing a loose board on her fence. She looked at Karen and said, "I'll move it soon." Karen huffed, thinking Mia was too soft. But Mia wasn't soft, she was strong, stronger than Karen could ever imagine. That strength was part of her secret, and it was getting closer to coming out. The tension in Pineview Heights was like a tight rope ready to snap. The volcano's rumbles were louder, the air was smoky, and people were scared. Karen's rules didn't help, she just made things worse. But Mia, she was like a calm lake, steady and sure. She knew something big was coming, and she was preparing for it. Every phone call, every map, every quiet moment was part of her plan. And that crate, it was a hint that Mia's real life was about to change everything. It was a wild Wednesday in Pineview Heights when everything changed. The big volcano, Mount Ember, finally woke up. Boom, it erupted with a huge roar, like a giant monster coughing. Thick gray ash fell from the sky, covering cars and houses like dirty snow. Red-hot lava, glowing like fire, started creeping down the mountain, getting closer every minute. Sirens screamed through the air, loud and scary. Helicopters zoomed overhead, their blades chopping the smoky sky. They were rushing to save people stuck near the danger zone, where the lava was hottest. Pineview Heights was a mess. People ran out of their houses, grabbing bags and kids. Some yelled for their pets, others looked for their cars. Everyone was scared, trying to figure out what to do. The air smelled like smoke and the ground shook a little, reminding everyone that the volcano was serious. Neighbors shouted to each other, asking if they were okay. It was chaos, pure and simple, except for one person, Karen Wilson, the HOA president. Karen stood right in the middle of the main street, acting like she owned the whole world. She wasn't running or packing. Nope, she was waving her arms like a traffic cop, her clipboard still in one hand. A big emergency helicopter was trying to land in the community park, a wide, grassy spot perfect for saving people. The chopper's pilot was desperate, needing to pick up families and get them away from the lava. But Karen wasn't having it. "No helicopters landing here." As she shouted up at the chopper, her voice sharp and bossy. "This is private property, you need my permission." The pilot couldn't believe it. He grabbed his radio, his voice fast and worried. "We need to land," he said. "People are in danger." But Karen wouldn't move. She crossed her arms, her glasses glinting in the smoky light, and shook her head. Neighbors watched, their mouths open. Was Karen really stopping a rescue? Some whispered, "She's gone too far." Others just stared, too shocked to speak. The helicopter hovered, its loud whirring filling the air, but it couldn't land with Karen in the way. That's when Mia Carter stepped out of the crowd. Everyone turned to look. Mia didn't look like the quiet neighbor anymore. Her usual hoodie and jeans were gone. Instead, she wore a crisp green uniform like something a soldier would wear. A shiny badge sparkled on her chest, catching the light through the ash. Her hair was pulled back tight and her face was serious but calm. She walked forward, her boots steady on the ground, like she wasn't scared of anything. Not the volcano, not the chaos, not even Karen. The crowd went quiet. Even the sirens seemed softer for a second. Karen's jaw dropped, her clipboard slipping a little in her hand. Mia stopped a few steps from Karen and looked her right in the eyes. "Karen," Mia said, her voice clear and strong, "stand down now." It wasn't loud or mean, but it was firm, like she meant business. Karen blinked, her face confused. She wasn't used to anyone talking to her like that. "Who do you think you are?" she snapped, her voice shaky but still bossy. "You can't tell me what to do." Mia didn't blink. She didn't get mad or yell. Instead, she reached for a small radio clipped to her belt. She held it up and spoke, her words steady and loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is Commander Mia Carter, National Guard," she said. "Clear the area for landing. That's an order." Her voice cut through the noise like a knife, sharp and sure. The pilot's voice crackled back through the radio. "Yes, ma'am, area clear." The crowd froze, like someone had hit a pause button. Then it hit, bam, like a lightning bolt from a clear sky. Mia wasn't just a neighbor. She was the National Guard commander, the person in charge of the whole rescue mission. She wasn't mowing lawns or fixing flower pots for fun. She'd been leading the plan to save everyone from the volcano. All those late-night phone calls, those maps, that crate in her garage, it was all part of her big job. She'd been organizing helicopters, supplies, and soldiers, making sure people would be safe when the volcano erupted. Karen's face changed fast. First, it turned bright red like she was mad. Then it went pale like she'd seen a ghost. Her clipboard dangled in her hand, forgot. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. Neighbors gasped, their eyes wide. "Mia's a commander," one whispered. "The National Guard," another said, shocked. Kids pointed, tugging at their parents' sleeves. Everyone stared at Mia, standing tall in her uniform, looking like a hero from a movie. Mia didn't stop to explain. She waved at the helicopter, pointing to the park.